Stingray sticking with the Dusk. It was not a singular pick for his last match. It's something that he's going to be running.
So, of course, Stingray in his name has top 4 in the world in his name. That's because he's PR4 coming into this one. We'll see if he makes at least a top 4 placement here. Megd is going to make it very difficult as he hits the 0 to knockout. A perfectly clean stock. Megd, he's showing that that 3-2 is about to turn into a 4-2.
Megd untouchable right now compared to Stingray. Stingray might be rethinking a lot of decisions right now, but he needs to finish out this initial game. Megd still sticking onto that sword. That's definitely been like kind of his claim to fame. Looking back at MSI last year, like that was the big weapon that he was able to do so well with, and he's continuing to do well with here today.
It's there's a lot of sword neutralites coming out, and of course he's playing Val. Typically when we see a lot of sword now, it's not as much Val as it used to be back in the day. Like most of the sword we've seen recently has been on a Suri. Stingray almost ending that stock, but not quite until he hits the Orb ground pound. Gonna have his choice of weapon, sticks back over with the Orb while he's at a huge damage deficit here. Even that neutral air almost sent him off screen now that Megd has the sword in his hand. Okay, Stingray has the Orb string coming out. Even gravity cancels that neutral light to add more damage.
Throws out a down air, trying to play that spacing game, but Megd finds the gap, gets in onto him, neutral light. There's the downlight side air, and Megd maintains that lead over Stingray.
Now, one of the reasons Godly swapped off of the Asuri onto the Lucian is like a lot of it seemed to be like sword focused. The way that you kind of have to play sword now, or the way that most people are finding success with sword now, is playing it a little bit slower. We're seeing that in Megd's gameplay here. Oh, nice GC side light into the side air to get that stock away. Almost evening this one up. Great comeback from Stingray. But if anyone's going to have success playing the sword slowly, like it's going to be Megd, who spent a lot of time, of course, on the Val. Also has some time on the Asuri as well. So if that's the way you have to play that weapon, I mean, Megd is likely going to be happy to do that and likely going to be successful with it as well, as now the gauntlets are adding up more punishment onto Stingray. He's in the orange. Stingray tried to go for the big re with the GC Insig.
Yeah, wasn't able to connect afterwards either. Threw out that down air. Throws out the recovery. He's at 2 exclamation points. Finally manages to land back down, but he's getting into the red, and Megd might be looking for a downlight side air here in a minute. Oh, there you can see Megd giving a lot of breathing room.
He's trying to be elusive here, trying to stay just far enough away out of the range. Swapping back over to the sword. Going to see a GC D-Light, or is it just going to be the D-Lights on the ground? He's looking for it, but there's the neutral signature. And on Brawlhalla, that's going to be the KO option. 520 damage. So even though it was slower, we didn't have to add up 600, 650, or anything like that. It was very, very, very efficient.
I mean, looking at that initial stock, right, that was hyper efficiency right there. And then you saw Stingray trying to extend those stocks a little bit longer. The peaks of his stocks went further, but still really good damage built up from Megd, all off the back of that initial stock.
Stingray going to be over on the corner. He's going to have to fight this one starting off against Megd's gauntlets. They're going even so far. No major swings one way or the other. There is another weapon spawn on the field. We'll see if Megd swaps over to that. No, maybe he wants to push this off stage a little bit. Turning around that ground pound, going for a second one. Didn't even steer it away from the wall, but now he's over back on the sword.
Yeah, and Stingray managed to steer just enough away from the wall that he can get caught there. Side sig connects. Both of them taking a decent amount of damage. No one quite in that KO percent just yet. Sidelight misses. Megd gets underneath. There's the recovery.
Stingray setting up for the edge guard. Now moving back over to that corner. Even charged that one up and still was able to turn it around and throw out that, I was going to call that a sword neutral light, because, I mean, a lot of the ways that he used that is very much reminiscent of the ways players used to use sword neutral light as the defensive option after they throw out a signature.
Yeah, I mean, that's twice now that he's done that. He charges up that second shot of the side sig, and then when Megd comes to punish, throws out that neutral light. Real quick get-off-me tool.
Let's see how the KO potential is for Megd when he has the gauntlets in his hands. Seems like he might be trying to get rid of them pretty quickly and swap back over to the sword. Of course, we saw last game ended with that sword neutral signature. Gets around behind Stingray, and even though that was from the middle of the stage, 2 jump heights above, still found a connection and still found the stock on the right side.
Stingray manages to find a weapon spawn, but Megd has brought this one back basically even between the two of them. Side sig, no neutral light in time. Megd was there.
Megd is kind of holding center of the stage. Stingray floating around on the outsides of it.
Over to the spear. We'll see what he can do with it. Hasn't been doing too much with this spear in the last game. Only put out 50 damage on it. Megd with the sword. We're going to see it again. Ooh, Stingray touches.
I'm not sure if Megd didn't want to go any deeper. He does find the sword side signature there to get the KO. I'm not sure if he kind of got stuck on the wall and that interrupted the movement that he actually wanted to do down closer to Stingray, or whether he was just actually choosing to pull out of that in time so he didn't get caught in a major punish given that he is so red right now. Dodges through that, and the signature does not make contact. Adds nice 2 hits once he picks up the gauntlets, but he's defeated almost instantly by Stingray. We have a very close final stock here for both of these players.
Yeah, this really could go either direction, but Megd, his sword has been picking apart Stingray's spear, so Stingray's got to be careful about this matchup. 2-piece comes out from Megd, doesn't catch with the end sig, but Stingray can't punish.
And on the opposite side, Megd is finding so many punishes. Megd's still in the early stages of yellow, now really officially in the yellow, but he has Stingray in the red, definitely after that recovery. There's the side air. Megd poised on the corner, ready to punish any landing, but not committing too hard. The recovery, not quite doing it yet. One more of those will do it, and there it is, Megd, now up 2-0 against Stingray.
Megd's swordplay is back. This is the thing, again, that it worked so well for him at the midseason invitational just a year ago. And it looks like it's working well for him again here today as Stingray forced to swap off the Dusk. It's back to the Black Knight, the Orion crossover for game number 3.
Let's see what that Lance that he was so against playing, at least verbally, at the Winter Royale until he actually made the decision to sit down and play the game and then realized, oh, my Lance is very good and Lance is solid in current meta. He's going to start this off with the spear, though. Going to have that carry over from the Dusk that we just saw. But, I'm not quite seeing the Stingray juice yet.
Well, there's some down sig. He's starting to squeeze just a little bit of juice out whenever he's finding opportunities. That down sig of Stingray's was so effective at the World Championship that it pretty much got nerfed right afterwards. Oh, goes for it again. Megd with the punish, that neutral light, and Megd is getting the damage advantage.
There's a weapon spawn on the field. Stingray didn't look like he wanted to go over to it until he decided to, and he disarmed himself, and Megd was like, oh, you want to go over to this weapon spawn? No, sir. I'm going to make sure you're at the advantage there. I was going to play around it for a while, but now that you made the move, I'm going to take the gauntlets away from you.
Dare connects. Megd, though, getting a good damage as he goes in for the downlight ground pound. Weapon toss to bait the action. Downlight ground pound to get the stock.
So he could have really gone 2 different ways. Well, really 3 different ways. The third way being just doing nothing after that. But you go for the weapon toss. The dodge was burned. You could either just wait up by the wall and then hope that you can punish the end of the recovery, knowing exactly where it's going to go based on how long it was charged, so on and so forth. But he didn't have a weapon to just completely deny that recovery because he already threw it. But what he chose to do is actually go in, go deep into the push-off column, all the way down there, and find the immediate light into the ground pound before Stingray really had a chance to charge up that recovery and actually use it to get back to the stage.
Now we've got Stingray. He managed to clean up that first stock of Megd, and he made the active decision to play this spear. Now he's over to the lanes.
Megd completely avoiding that neutral sig follow-up. You saw he was ready to jump right after he got hit by the neutral air. We'll see if Stingray goes for that option again if he picks up a neutral air that low, or if he chooses to stay aerial and punish Megd in the air, just barely getting through that side signature from Megd. Again, Megd staying on the ground this time. We didn't get punished. That's the stock.
Yeah, that was a burned dodge from Stingray. Went for the gravity cancel side sig. Megd ended up landing behind it. It was like, okay, easy sidelight recovery here. Gets the stock. And Megd's one stock away of knocking Stingray into the elimination side of the bracket to go on into the top 8 against Impala.
And if he gets the victory here, he'd be doing it with a 3-0, which is huge. Because these two players, we talked about it, it's 3-2 in favor of Megd. But if you look at also community tournaments in that, they're tied. So these two players, they run into each other fairly often, definitely in official tournaments, and they go reasonably even with one another.
Right now, it looks like Stingray struggling a little bit more against Megd. I mean, even looking at the initial pull, okay. Goes into the end sig. Edgeguard opportunity here. Megd's hanging out. Saw 1 exclamation point, 2 exclamation points. Stingray can't catch the landing.
Both of them just kind of hoping to find their openers, and I think the safer openers come from Megd, because Stingray's looking for some of these side lights. That's going to put him into punish territory. Ooh, Megd staying below so he didn't fall into that GCD sig. Exclamation points are coming out. He did get hit.
And just his touchback down, but he's had no weapon for a while here. There's the spawn just in time. Gauntlets in hand.
I'm thinking he would probably prefer the sword here. Maybe not.
He caught the dodge. Stingray doesn't get the weapon, and Megd 3-0 Stingray to go on into the top 8. Stingray now has to go into the elimination side of the bracket.
That was a huge last stock clutch. That was massive for Megd to be able to bring that one back. It was looking a little bit hopeless there. Because you see, like, Stingray's in the beginning stages of orange. Meanwhile, Megd is in the red. All of a sudden...